What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name's Mike. I am from Mike's Retro Trading Cards. And you know, they say collect what you love, right, guys? Well, I'm joined by two men that thought they found what they loved, but then they caught the early flight home from San Diego, and a couple of nude people jumped out of their bathroom blindfolded like a gosh darn magic show, ready to double team their Peyton Manning rookie cards. They are, of course, your friends of mine, Joe Day and EP, Eric Pahalik. How you doing, guys?
I love how you went through that whole thing, killed it
Peyton
until
Manning
Peyton Manning rookie card.
Oh my
you
gosh.
you had it crushed, and you didn't even start recording the pod yet.
Yeah, I did.
Look, I almost got to look to see if you actually hit the record button. Fantastic. Very, very nice, Mike. One of the greatest movies of all time.
Yep.
We watched it in the theater together when it came out, and I remember just dying the entire time, just absolutely dying. So good.
And I edited it for mass consumption.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
just a couple words.
TD? Is he gonna drop the TD?
No, not at the beginning of a podcast. Not gonna do that. So, how's it going, boys? Long time no see. I think it's been like a week.
It's been a whole week.
Yeah.
Well, EP has a cold, and I texted him this morning, and I said, EP.
We weren't sure he was going to make it. Like,
right? Exactly.
We were very touch and go there for a little while. We weren't sure if he was going to be here or not. Yeah.
Right. And I texted. What was your exact response to my text? If you were going to have a beer today? Hold on, let me pull up because it cracked Mike and I both up. I said, "EP, too sick to have a beer?" ? Never! ! So, EP, let's crack open our beers. I've got a perpetual IPA from Trogs.
I have a perpetual IPA from Trogs as well, but it's in a bottle. I've already cracked mine, but
it is a Trogs Perpetual Appreciation Week here on Mike's Retro Trading Cards.
Official, unofficial sponsor, Trogs. Yeah.
Ooh, very tasty.
What's on your koozie there, Joe?
It's from Topsail Island, North Carolina, where I vacation sometimes with pot plants, it looks like. A friend of mine got it for me. You asked.
There you go. Well,
so there you go.
Probably people watching that appreciate that. So.
Yep, there are.
So, we have a little bit of an announcement. We've been talking about doing a live stream for what, like 2 years now? Like, I don't know when the last one was. We're going to do one, people. We're going to do one, but we've actually picked the date. Come join us on Saturday night, the 13th of January.
Saturday.
Yeah, that is this Saturday, isn't it?
Saturday.
Yeah.
8:00. I think we decided on 8:00. So we're gonna hang out. We're gonna talk about some stuff. I'm gonna come up with a little format so we stay organized because you know me, I like to be organized.
Yeah.
And just make sure you check us out. Have a little bit of fun with us. It should be a good time, right?
Crack open some beers.
Oh, you guys for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually drink on the live streams. I've seen you do it
sometimes. I don't know. Depends on if the viewers want me to drink or not. Let me know in the comments. Should I have a beer on the live stream or not?
We have a long weekend. At least I do. I don't know if you guys do. I have a long weekend.
I don't.
Okay, I have a long weekend, so I'm going to get crunk. But 8 p.m.
That matters.
Right.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure if you're on the West Coast, it'll be a little earlier for you. So I just want to make sure if you're overseas.
That's like 11 a.m. right, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not going to do the math. Figure it out yourselves. But 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. So there we go. We also have our New Year's resolutions video coming out on Wednesday. We talked a little bit about our hobby goals last week, but we're gonna expand on them a little bit. Maybe have some different ones. I don't know. Maybe something entertaining in there. I don't know. Gotta watch it and check it out, right? And we got 3 cards you need for your retro PC on Friday morning. Check that show out too. We love doing that one. We want all of you to watch that dang show. So
yes,
help us out there. But yeah.
And we're 2 for 2, by the way, on your resolution to have Saturday videos. We just posted another video this past Saturday. I'm going back through all the cards that I submitted that I still have in my collection from 1999 and 2000. So there's some
It's so
bangers.
much fun.
There are some bangers in that one. I'm just gonna say it, Cade McNown. I'm just gonna throw it out there for everyone. You may see a few of his cards, but check that one out. We posted it this past Saturday.
Yeah. So what's going on, guys? Anybody have anything you want to talk about, or should we wrap it up there?
EP, you go first, because I think what I want to talk about is going to connect to something Mike wants to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I had two things really. Just first off, that I bought a couple lots of the pages. I've that 1,021 cards. I ended up being like 27 cents a card. So I've been going through those cards, and I feel pretty good about that. 27 cents a card is really good for a lot of stuff I got. I got some really good stars and that sort of stuff. So I'm excited about that. Then the second thing is Junior January, which our buddy IMO Mitch on Twitter started up in January 1st. And this is just a post. He's just posting a King Griffey Jr. card every day of January in 2024. And as somebody who has a giant box full of King Griffey Jr. cards, I have very much enjoyed this. I've been trying to do every day of the month. I've been trying to do the card number. So card number 1 was the 1989 Upper Deck Griffey rookie card. So I've been kind of trying to do that, and I'm having a blast. Like there's some awesome cards every day being posted by everybody. So really cool.
Yeah,
thing.
other people asking other people to join in, and everybody's just posting a Griffey card they have in their collection every day. Fun stuff. A little better than all the fighting back and forth and all the dumb stuff, the people scamming and all that stuff. So if you're a Ken Griffey Jr. collector fan and you're on Twitter, make sure you check that out. That's pretty cool. All right, Joe, what do you have for us?
All right, so we talked last week. Was it last week? We talked about Christmas presents we got, like card-related Christmas presents. And I said I didn't really have anything. I didn't get anything card-related for Christmas, but I did get a couple of checks. Nothing major.
Just a couple of checks.
Just a couple of checks, small checks. Don't worry, very small checks actually, which is annoying. But anyway, I used that money to buy some card stuff. And I actually started a rainbow.
No way.
A very low dollar rainbow. But I'm really excited about it. We
don't know about this, do we?
You don't. No. You don't. This is news to you two as well. Now, depending on which platform you look at or which website you look at, between like Beckett posts like checklist, and then there's Cardboard Connection or whatever. Like, depending on which one you look at, I could be 4 out of 6 of this rainbow already, or 4 out of 7 of this rainbow already. So I'll explain that as I go. But you guys know I'm a Pitt alum. I love Pitt. One of my favorite running backs from Pitt over the last 5 to 10 years. James Conner obviously is up there, but Izzy Abanikanda, Israel Abanikanda, for for those of you who like the formal names. I loved him because every time he scored a touchdown, it was Izzy to the hizzy. That was one of my favorite things to chant when he would score. But I started his flawless team logo rainbow.
Wow.
Flawless Collegiate, by the way. Flawless Collegiate, everyone.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to show you. So here is the green. So that's when it's numbered out of 5. Rob actually mentioned, he goes, well, that's like a Jets color match. He is the Jets backup running back right now. So
I love the effort he put into the autograph on it too.
Yeah, I know. That is annoying. But here is the gold out of 10.
That's nice.
That's cool. Yeah.
My favorite one, because it's kind of a color match to Pitt, is the blue out of 15.
Very nice.
And then finally, the silver / base, or whatever you want to call it, out of 25. But apparently there's potentially a pink out of 3. I don't know. It was on one side, not the other. And then there's the red out of 20. And then, of course, the platinum 101. So if you have the platinum 101, get at me in the comments. I'm just curious who might have it. But so I'm kind of close to completing it, because there's no way I'm going to get the 101. I mean, it's probably not that expensive of a card, but it's more, people didn't open up that much Flawless Collegiate because, it's kind of bad this year. But so it could still be in a briefcase. So who knows? But that's my little rainbow. So those were Christmas gifts to myself. I think I'm all in for all 4 of those cards for like $120.
Wow.
Like total. So
you should put out.
I'm not sure how I'm going to display them yet, or how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to re-top loader them. because got to get consistent new top loaders, obviously.
Yeah,
So I bought
definitely.
some top loaders for him, and I'm gonna display them somewhere. I don't know where, but little pit rainbow. I figured, what the hell?
You should put out on social media. They're looking for the 101. Like, you might get
The
some likes,
bounty. Come on,
Yeah,
Joe.
I
Time for a
got a
bounty.
$50 bounty on that 101. I'm like David Adams with their bounties. I mean,
Yeah, you are.
Is there any other David Adams stuff to talk about?
No, well, I'll get to that, but I want to share my rainbow first. Back in 2021, the last
drink.
Topps Finest set, yeah, I started doing the Paul Heyman rainbow there. I have the 150. I have the green out of 99. I have the rose gold out of 75. I have the gold out of 50. I have the orange out of 25. I even have the red out of 5. But for 2 long years, the black refractor out of 10 had eluded me. And, I used to look for that card all the time. There was not one that showed up. And then I randomly looked in completed auctions and I saw there was one I missed that, like, I hadn't looked for a while. And I saw, and it only went for like $20. And I was like, I felt like somebody punched me in the gut. Like, that was my one chance. But it wasn't, because there are 10 of these. And I'm happy to say that the number 10 has come into the collection here, pretty much completing my rainbow, other than the SuperFractor 1 of 1, which, if that came up and it was reasonably priced, I would definitely consider adding that one. I'm not going to put a price out there. But yeah, I mean, I told you guys, you guys both sent me notices, make sure I didn't forget about the auction. And I told you I was going to win it. And, as the boogeyman would say, I'm getting that card. You're not going to beat me. So, Joey Graven, one of the wrestling card collectors, I love hearing him talk about cards he wants, because you're not going to beat him if he wants a card. And I did that. So my bid was way higher than what the card was ever going to sell for. But go ahead.
I was going to ask you how much, what was your, are you going to reveal how much you were willing to pay for it to get it? Your mega bid, as they call it?
I won it for like $32,
right?
Which, higher than the other one that won. But yes, my bid was well over $100. So,
oh wow,
I was hoping that nobody else wanted it that bad too. But yeah, I was not gonna let that one go, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself not having a black refractor Paul Heyman card. Like, how do you wake up?
A guy show bidding. Imagine if there was a guy show bidding that card.
I didn't put the bid in though until the end. So
the thing is, after you missed out on that one for $20, like, you almost had to get this one, right? Like, you couldn't not get it.
Yeah. Like I said, that was a gut punch. But also a gut punch, I tried to order some cards from David Adams Card World. Huge card seller, right? We all know that. Everybody knows that. I got 3 different gift cards for Christmas. Unfortunately, they don't offer them like in custom amounts. So my wife, who got me the cards, had to get 3 individual cards to make up the amount she wanted to get me. Well, the only problem is I go through, I finally figure out what I want to buy, and it's actually a little bit over what the total of the gift cards were. They're going to be making like an extra $50 on me. And they only have a place to put in 1 gift card at a time. And then if you look at their payments online, it says that you can only use 1 gift code or 1 gift certificate at a time on an online order. That's absolutely stupid. Like, first of all, they're gift certificates. That's an IOU. You're giving them money. You're pre-buying something for somebody and letting them pick it out. They're already paid for what you're going to get. I don't know how they can say you can only use 1. First of all, that doesn't sound legal. And I'm going to guess it's probably not legal. Like, you can have terms for your gift cards, but I don't think one of them is that if somebody spends money, you can't let them use all that money. Like, no, that's not right.
It's not a coupon.
No,
right?
It's not a coupon. Yeah, like if it's not a gift code, like it's an actual gift certificate. And they have nothing on their website when you buy the gift certificate saying you can't use more than 1 either. So very, very frustrating. I I sent an email to customer service, didn't hear back. So I posted something on Twitter, and actually they replied to it, and they told me, oh no, you can do it. Just, go on there, put in the notes for customer service that the other two cards, and then when it rings up, they'll take it off for you. I'm like, but I don't want to give the card to them and have it charged to my card automatically. Like I don't trust what you're telling me there. So they're like, no, you can do that. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just call. So I called customer service. I waited like 15 minutes and got there when it was my turn in the queue. I got an answering machine for customer service while they're open during normal business hours after I waited 15 minutes. So I left my information, gave them my name, my phone number, what the issue was, what I was trying to do, waited for them to call back. Guess what? Never called back.
Oh, that's shocking.
Never. And keep in mind, I called them at like noon, 1 o'clock. Like it was early afternoon. So it wasn't like they were closing soon for the day.
Well, and to them, that's actually like 9 a.m. That's when they're first in because they're West Coast.
No, they're like
Midwest.
in Buffalo. No,
Are they?
Are they Buffalo?
Yeah, they're up
Okay.
around Buffalo. So, so I'm really getting frustrated. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just try what the guy did there. But I didn't want my card to get charged. So what I did was I took my card for one of my card accounts that didn't have enough money in it to cover the whole amount, right? Yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to be charged for the entire order. So like my one account I have, like I don't use it. It had like $50 in it. So I plugged that in. It declined. So the person on Twitter that works for Dave and Adams that told me that, oh no, the card isn't instantly processed. It goes to customer service, then they process. Like it's totally not true because it declined. I got the notification from the app on my phone right away. And I'm like, I'm glad I used this card because there wasn't enough money in it. Like, so I don't know. Here we are 2 days later and I have no idea. All I want to do is buy a couple boxes of cards. I'm going to rip them for the channel. I want to use the money that you already took from my wife. So like, I don't know. I just needed to vent. I just had to clear the air on that, but it's so frustrating.
The worst part about this is how expensive boxes of cards are. Yeah. How is this sustainable for them to do if like $100 gift card or whatever, and you want to buy say $1,000 box of cards and you get $500 worth of gift cards. So you're telling me what, I can't use all of those gift cards?
Right.
Like, boxes of cards are not cheap. Like the fact that you found two boxes of cards and you were only had to add like what, 50 or so bucks to it. I mean, by the way, retro boxes for sure, right? We're not talking about like flawless or anything here. So it's like, that's, first off, them not offering like custom amounts is weird. Like that is very strange. That
very backwards.
Like something that doesn't seem like something that should be that hard for them to be able to do in their system. You know, like so especially with people that are buying specific gifts for someone. Like, oh, I think this box of cards will be around $500, but I'm not 100% sure if they want it. I'll just get a $500 gift card and give them that, and they can decide. You know,
I think the $100 limit was fine like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but it seems like it hasn't, like a legacy thing like that. Just haven't ever changed it. Like they should really look into that because that's crazy.
Well, I mean, last time I ordered from them, like regardless of how I get this taken care of, like I'm not ordering online from them again. I'll buy it from somewhere else. There's a lot of options out there, so like I don't need the frustration, but. Yeah, well, at least one place I was able to buy cards was the local card show. Yes, your boy was at it again this weekend. Should I even admit how much money I spent?
I mean, you told us, so if you don't, we'll say something.
Let's just say it was at a local high school. It's a fun show to go to because you can usually get deals. People are usually willing to deal. There's a guy I have a pretty good relationship with. I buy quite a bit from. He was set up outside of the main area too. So before I even paid to go in the show, I dropped most of my money.
let's just say, before he reveals, let's just say he would have had to add money to his David Adams gift cards. With how much he spent by quite a bit, actually.
Like, well, yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
I should have asked if he wanted to do a trade for David Adams.
Can you take some David Adams gift cards?
I'll give them to you for $80. Yeah, so I bought a collection, like a small shoebox full of 90s basketball, mostly 90s basketball inserts and some newer stuff in there, and picked out some other stuff and had spent most of my money before I even went into the show. But never fear, I found a way to spend more. I went into the show and I was looking through, like, somebody asked what I was looking for. I was like, well, I do mostly like 90s inserts. So he gave me his box of football. He had them priced. They were like way overpriced. So it wasn't cool cards, but I wasn't even about to entertain offering anything. Looking through the baseball box, some interesting stuff in it. Not totally full. It was a 5,000 box. And I'm picking out some cards. He's like, you can have the whole box for $150. I'm like, I'm like, do you take any electronic payments? He's like, I do Venmo. And I'm like, I looked in I don't sell much. Usually I transfer my money out of Venmo anyway, because I never buy anything with it. So I had like $50 in there or something. But then I'm like, do you take PayPal? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, crap.
You were hoping he said no a little bit.
I was a little bit, yeah. So I ended up buying that whole box too. But very happy with what I purchased. Like, I have sales coming up. I'm trying to source my inventory for the sales, and I did a really good job of it. So I can't really complain about what I got. I feel like I have potential to, turn what I spent into quite a bit more. And I think people that are in my sales are going to think it's really cool stuff. But yeah, spent a little bit of money again.
Not shocking. None of us are shocked.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I had to miss the show. I was just didn't want to go wandering around and coughing on people or whatever. But I would have loved to have witnessed this whole thing go down. Like, this would have been one of those shows where I didn't buy much. Just watch Mike do his business.
Before I went in the show, I spent many hundreds of dollars. But I was talking to the two kids that set up the mall. What were their names? Why am I drawing a blank? But
I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah, well, we're old. We don't remember stuff. Yeah. But he made a good point. You could spend that much on one card. I'm like, yeah. So instead of walking in and buying one PSA graded ultra modern card, I bought a whole bunch of stuff, and people were watching me as I'm carrying all the boxes out. So,
did you need a cart this time? Did you need to borrow a cart?
I did not. No, okay. I did not. Right. So it was a good time. But
Before we go to the topics, Mike, I want to go back to one of the first things that you talked about, because I'm curious about this. We talked about it before a little bit before we hit the record button. What are you going to do with your Heymans? So you have this rainbow, right? Are you going to send them all off to be graded, or are you going to one-touch them? What's the plan with your Heymans?
The problem I have is, you can see here, CSG graded, right? But they changed the label again. So I would like to have, if they're graded, I want them to all be graded by the same company. So I do have credit with them because I re-upped my membership because I forgot to change it off the auto renew, and it auto renewed. So I have until May, but I'm thinking I might just send the other cards into them, but then I'll have to send these in to get reholdered. So
I 100% agree with that. EP disagrees with that.
Yeah, no, they have to be reholdered.
Comment below. What would you do? Would you
let me know what to do?
Other ones. Yeah, I totally would do that because, again, OCD Joe Day. But EP, we know it's just scattershot with him.
Yeah,
you could have like 12 different grading companies. He could have tag do them for all we know, or HGA or something like that. Like, he doesn't care, but. Yeah, I'm the same way, Mike.
The smart thing to do would be to crack those out of the slabs and just put them in top loaders or something. But when are we smart?
No.
Got to be dumb every now and then.
You have the money. You have the money in the account.
I do, yeah. So and like, what else am I going to grade with them? Because I can't grade sports cards with them, as we'll talk about right now, because we have the 2023 grading numbers. Holy cow. We are addicted to grading as a hobby. 17 million cards were graded in 2023. That was up 19% over 2022. Let me just give you the numbers. The total numbers, overall numbers, PSA graded 13.5 million. They were up 21%. CGC did 1.75 million. They were up 8%. SGC did 1.28 million. They were up 29%. And then, Beckett, who did 772K, and they were up 3%. Broken down by sport and trading card games, PSA did 7.2 million sports, minus 2% on that, which was interesting. And they did 6.2 million card games, which was up 66%. Then CGC did 314,000 sports, down 56%, but they did 1.4 million trading card game, which was up 58%. SGC did 1.1 million sports cards, up 25%, which is pretty impressive. They also did 125,000 trading card games, up 84%. And then Beckett did 387 sports, down 24%. But they did 385,000, almost the same in trading card games, which was also up 24%, I think. So,
and the trading card games, does that include non-sports as well? Okay. Absolutely crazy. I have a bunch of takeaways, but one of my biggest takeaways, SGC, the only grading card company that went up in sports cards. Mean, everyone else went down, right?
Yeah. And they went up substantially. Let's talk about them a little bit, because I think it's amazing that they did 1.1 million cards and went up by 25% and still kept the turnaround times that they have. The fantastic turnaround. That's an amazing job of scaling that business. I'm impressed from a business level, because you can, they're a small company, and to be able to handle that much and keep getting people their cards, you have to give them a thumbs up on that one, because that is fantastic.
A lot of that has to do is, I'm going to turn it to EP here. I thought a lot of that has to do, I would suspect, with the baseball deals they were making, right? The $9 for, was it Topps flagship and Bowman and all that stuff? What was going on with that, EP?
Oh, they did a bunch of them. I think Series 1 and Series 2, they did the $9 deal. For Bowman, they did the $9 deal. And obviously, at the end of the year here, they did anything with the name Bowman on it from 2021 until 2023, I think it was. Anything with the word Bowman on it that you could send in for $9. And that's obviously going to really generate a lot of people sending stuff in. Bowman is the one that people want to get graded, and that price is hard to beat. And in the hobby right now, and the way things are, it's really hard to beat that amount of money.
And the turnaround, the turnaround's almost impossible to beat.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. As much as for the entire year, but I thought maybe that there would be some downtime for Topps flagship, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that sent in. And I would think that for them to still be able to do it despite those special deals, I'm guessing they probably got a good chunk of collectors sending in every time they did those. So.
Just crazy. The trading card games, though, that just keeps growing and growing. You have all these numbers are just ridiculous how much they increased in 2023. I don't are those people that collect those are just grading everything? Because
no one plays the game. Does anyone play the games anymore?
Well, they do, and I think that there's a lot of people that do that, but there are a lot of people that are just collectors of it. But I do. There was if you remember back when we first got back into this, was 2021 at this point now. You could send in those cards and get them graded, and anything that came back at 10 was a $100 card. And that has definitely changed now. That's definitely not the case now. But I think there are some people that probably just sending in because they want to have the graded cards themselves. I'm not sure. I don't think the resale is there as much as it was, right? I think the resale is down on those.
I think so. I forget which set it was, but a lot of the sets don't really even have a whole lot to grade in it, like
Mhm.
that makes sense to grade from what I saw. But I guess people must just be sending a ton in. I mean, they put out a lot of product, but they don't put out more than the sports cards do. I don't think. Maybe.
I think it's pretty close. I mean, they do
I guess if you consider all the games, but I don't know if like people are sending all the other games in to get graded too. I mean, they must be. Like, it can't all be Pokemon, right?
right.
No, I thought it would be all Loricana, right? Does anyone care about Pokemon?
that probably has an effect on
probably
the
has
numbers
an effect,
though, too.
but yeah.
And Magic cards are there too, and the Lord of the Rings card, like the Magic Lord of the Rings cards. Like, I'm sure that people send a bunch of those into, so they're all kind of in there. But I think Pokemon is probably still by far the largest one, right?
Okay, so I have a thought here, and I have a question. PSA wasn't open the whole year of 2022, correct? They didn't open up till into the year.
I thought it was 2021. They had reopened.
Did they?
I mean, I honestly,
they shut down in 2021.
Mean?
So that was March of 2021 that they shut down. So it had to have been 2022 that they reopened. Okay. They didn't. I don't think they reopened in the same year, did they? It wasn't that quick because
I don't remember.
Look it up, Joe. But like,
I'm looking.
I find it interesting that the sports card grading was actually down a little bit. You know, they've expanded, they've hired many more employees to grade, they've opened a new facility, and you know, it's probably not statistically significant, but 2%, like, you're not growing. That's one thing. So like we talk a lot too about there not being the return anymore, like, and what will happen with grading, because you know, take a 1990 hoops Michael Jordan. Everybody already sent those in, and they're not worth sending in unless you get a 10 anymore. So there's a lot of stuff, even new stuff now, that you can't make any money on it. You lose money on some of it if you get a 9. So I think it's a combination of maybe not as many collectors in the hobby, and people kind of maybe starting to realize that this isn't something I need to do for every card anymore, where they were doing that before. And like, I just wonder, like, going forward, will this be a continuing trend for them? Because I think the hobby in general, like, we have to be reaching some kind of point here where it's going to drop off, because like, how is this sustainable is what I'm questioning, I guess.
The price they're charging. So they do have the specials, sure, but what's the cheapest you can send a card in for? $15? I mean,
no, 19 is
during the special. I mean, is
the special's 15. Yeah.
So like, if you're not sending in with the special, you're paying, you know, $19-20 for a card. And a lot of the times, like you said, Mike, those 9s are losing you money because people want the 10. So they'll buy a raw card in the hopes of getting a 10 versus just buying a 9, which is a perfectly looking card. To your question, it was actually June of 2022. That's kind of shocking to me.
So
that late
that
into it.
Like, that 2% is like kind of misleading, because you're down 2% overall, but you're down 2% for cards you graded, sports cards you graded in the entire year of 2023 when you were open 12 months,
6 months
versus the 6 or 7 months you did in 2022. So there's a little, you know, tidbit there that says to me that this might be slowing down. And like, you have a company there that expanded, that needs business, that they're picking it up from the trading card games, and they have like a $13 or $14 special running for that, because they're really leaning into it. But the sports card grading with them is clearly dropping off. Like, that's a huge drop if it's 12 months versus 7.
Yeah, I was going to say that they've been running that trading, or the trading card game deal, for quite a while, right? That's been ongoing for months and months, I think. So I mean, that probably has helped considerably. I also wanted to say that GC doing these deals, and you look at their numbers being up, they're siphoning some of those cards away from PSA as well. And I wonder if people are like, I don't need to have a PSA 10. I can get an SGC 10. It's still highly graded card, cool card. And then I also wonder if the sales, like the three highest sales of cards ever, were all SGC. They're all vintage, but they're all SGC cards too. So I wonder if SGC is kind of growing. Obviously, they have a ways to go if they're going to try to overtake PSA. I don't think they'll ever be able to overtake PSA. But I feel like they're growing in the hobbies as far as people recognizing that they're good graders and the collecting the slabs, that sort of stuff as well.
Well, you said, on the top here, Mike, that we as a hobby are obsessed with grading. I don't think we are. I don't think the sports card hobby is as obsessed with grading. To your point, like looking at those TCG numbers, it seems like people, and there might be some crossover, I'm sure, but they are really, really obsessed with grading. And it's kind of crazy to think that, like, the utility, I've talked about this before with other things. I think we were talking about grading or buying expensive shoes or something. And I said the utility of a card, a sports card, is to look at it. That's it. That's the only utility a sports card has, is to look at it. The utility of a TCG card, they were not made to just look at. They were made to be used. So it's kind of wild to me that those numbers are so up for something that in its purest form is not to be a display piece. It's to be in a deck and being used. Could you imagine us back in the day sleeving and top loading all the red zone cards that we got when it.
You guys didn't do that?
No,
I don't.
We got the Charizard equivalent. I don't know who that even would have been. The most powerful card. We're using it because we want to beat the other guys that we're playing against. Now you get a really, really good card. You're sending it right off to be graded because you would never let that touch your playing deck.
I haven't heard more red zone. I've heard more red zone card that is looks like somebody was chewing on it. Like that's how used some of our cards are. Red zone. Yeah.
And I went through my buddy's Pokemon collection. I ended up listing a bunch of them, but I had to put in the description heavily played. And I'm kind of rolling my eyes at my buddy DJ who asked me to look through them and put some of them for sale. I rolled my eyes being like, dude, you would have such great stuff if you never played it. He goes, it's a effing game. Why wouldn't I have played it? And that was his mentality. And that's how it kind of should be with those, but it's not. It's definitely not now.
One other thing I noticed too in this, like, okay, the PSA 10 and the value that has in the hobby. When you look at the gem rates, it's kind of ridiculous. On modern cards, PSA's gem rate is a 48%. SGC 10 is only a 42.8. CGC is only 31, and Beckett is only 39.8. So all three of those companies are grading a 10 at a less clip than they are PSA. Now, could that be maybe because people are sending their cards that they think are best quality to PSA? Maybe a little bit, but not enough for all these cards that were graded to make up for those differences. And, with all due respect to Neo, who had the little thing on Twitter telling people that, look at the modern slide for this is the numbers for the moderns. And, yeah, there are older cards that may be sent to SGC and stuff that are, making the gem rates different. I don't know how true that actually is, but still, when you look at the modern grading numbers, PSA is the easiest to get a gem mint card from. So why in the hell do they sell for so much more? Clearly, they're not a better grader. You can't be a better grader if you're grading more of them gem mint over the other companies. Yes, you have the other companies that have that step down, which is kind of the thing though. Like a lot of cards that'll come back SGC 9.5 or CGC 9.5 would be a 10 in a PSA. So not a better card in my opinion if it's being graded lower by the other companies because they have the ability to give it that mid grade. Nothing I look at here makes any sense for why PSA's gap in a gem mint card should be so far above these other companies.
Well, first off, I did fail to mention, and I wanted to bring it up about we were talking about the deals. Let's keep in mind, PSA is probably, to your point, Mike, about how we're comparing 12 months versus maybe 6 months. I'm sure, have picked up on that. And that's why, didn't you mention to us that they're doing a modern special now, which we didn't know what modern meant, but they're trying anything from
That's
2000.
the next topic. Yeah.
The next, okay, so I won't talk about that yet.
Putting the cart ahead of the horse again.
Whatever. I mean, if the host was a little bit better telling us this stuff ahead,
I
of
did
time,
tell you
my
all
goodness.
that stuff. But
I
anyway,
don't pay attention. Anyway, but my other point is, this generation of collectors has been trained to grade. So you ask the question, are we at the apex and coming down? I don't know if it is, because as people who are much younger than us are getting into this hobby, this is what they know. They don't think about going in and buying a raw card and just keeping it in a one touch. Their mentality, it's been beaten into them. As soon as you buy a raw card, you have to send it to be graded. I don't know if that's going to change. It could come down with people that are a little bit older not doing that anymore and bringing those numbers down. But that generation that just got into it before, or weren't into it when we were into it before, and just got into it in 2020 and 2021, they may be obsessed with grading. That might not change.
I don't think, though. I think the value not being there, though, that's the big difference there. So yes, you have people that are used to grading, but they were grading to increase the value of the card. So if there are fewer and fewer cards that they're able to buy now that they can increase the value on, then it makes sense to send in. They're not going to send them in. I don't think the numbers would be going down if that were the case, because you're already seeing it. The younger collectors probably by far outnumber the older collectors with what we're sending in to get graded. So I think these numbers do show that even though they've grown up with grading, becomes a point where they go, this doesn't make any sense financially to me, because those collectors, there are a lot of younger collectors that the value and the investment of something is like a top priority for them in their card collecting. Whereas, some of us that are collecting on nostalgia and stuff, we don't care about it quite as much. So I don't think that's the case, or will be the case, because I think the numbers now are already showing that the decrease in value of so many cards that are graded in 9, are showing that those people aren't sending as much in now.
Well, going back to Mike talking about the number of PSA 10s, and always said PSA 10s were at 48% or something like that. PSA 10s are 48%, and then SGC is 42%.
And their trading card game, let me throw this one out there,
okay,
is almost 70% Jack.
Oh my gosh. The whole point of
why they're getting so many.
The reason that we started the reason that this started in the first place was for people to be able to say, I have a better version of this card than you have, right? Mm-hmm. But if every card, or if half of the cards that are graded are PSA 10s, like, where is the value in getting them graded? Special. Yeah, like, it's not special anymore. That seems crazy to me. And again, you look at the other companies are lower and go lower and lower as they go. So are those numbers, those PSA 10 numbers, are they trumped up a little bit? Like, they probably are, right? So I feel like they kind of lost that specialness of what a PSA 10 was.
Right. If everything's a 10, nothing's a 10.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, well, and one last thing, I have an order I just sent in. Less than 30 days, my cards were graded and are being sent back to me. So it's like about a little over 3 weeks from them receiving my cards to where they're sending them back to me. So clearly they're not too backed up at the moment.
They usually make sure that those ultra high end cards that are like 150 each to grade, they get back quicker, Mike.
Yeah, no, this was a $15
that's not what you
special.
Said. You didn't send those.
That's not what I said. No. You're the one with those cards, not me.
Hey, I don't grade. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you don't. But as Joe mentioned, there is a $15 modern special being run at PSA. Again, I think this is probably a sign that they're like, yeah, okay, we need to get more sports cards in here. Anything from 1993, I believe it was, until now is eligible for the special. So, and $15, not like $15.99. I think they're $14.99, isn't it? So, I mean, pretty good deal. I mean, I'm going to take advantage. I've been waiting for this one. I probably will have quite a few cards to send in because I've been waiting probably 6 months now with a pile of cards that keeps getting a little bigger and a little bigger. So, something that our viewers might want to take advantage of too if they grade with PSA. But that EP, we talk about it all the time. The difference between $19 and $15, like on a bigger order, that's going to be a lot of money. Like that $15 price point makes me go, yes, I want to do this. So, like, I've been saying all along they need to get down there, and I think the numbers with the grading numbers for the year might kind of show that they do need to get their pricing structure for sports cards down a little bit to get more business. Like, I'm going to send them a lot. I don't know if either of you guys have anyone send in with me, but I'll happily do that. But I think this will probably really, really, really bump up their numbers in January and February.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, the same thing. Like, I have a lot of cars that are $15, $20, $30 from our time collecting, 98, 99, 2000, like around that range. And this is the kind of time where if you have at that price, like that is the price that you're going to send stuff in. So I definitely will have some stuff to share with you, Mike, to give you to send in. It'd be foolish of me to not do that. So
yeah. Mike's dogs are not sending any cards to PSA. You can hear him in the background say, no, absolutely not. You had mentioned a while ago at this point, Mike, that you thought PSA would get down to $10 to $12. That's where they need to be. Like, they never got there, but they need to get there. So I don't know when that's going to be, but they just keep running these specials and hoping that people won't notice. But I'm sorry, like $10 to $12 is probably the range they need to get back at. But they expanded so much. God only knows how much money they have in the expansion, how much money they have into hiring all these graders that handle, millions and millions and tens of millions of cards. So, like, I don't know if they ever will get to that point. They need to get to your thought process that people are going to start slowing down on grading. Almost at that point, it'd have to be precipitous for us to be talking about it, because I still think it's going to be over 1 million cards a month, right? Like, at what point do we see PSA go down under $1 million or $1 million cards a month? When will we see that?
Probably won't this year.
Maybe never again.
Right. Like,
I mean,
so that's kind of my point about when I mentioned, people are kind of just used to grading. Like, it's just the thing they do. You're even sending in cards, and we're talking about this for the last 20 minutes about how we're obsessed with grading. You're going to be sending in a big order, and you're not even that big of a grader. I mean, it's just kind of what people do now. I don't know if we'll ever get
I won't be doing it every month. I think one of the things, though, the numbers are skewed with the trading card game stuff. And I kind of feel like, in the wrestling card community, I collect wrestling cards. All the other sports cards jumped up in price first. And then, like, wrestling cards were later. And I always said, like, there are trends happening in the hobby, but not all of them are on the same timeline. And, sure enough, there's a lot of wrestling cards that have declined in value, just like sports cards. I don't think the trading card game, I think they're a little farther behind too. The grading, everybody's sending them in, getting more and more popular now, but I think it's going to peak, and then that will at some point in time start to drop off too. So, like, I do, like, they're going to grade 1 million cards a month, but they might grade 70% trading card games in this, where that's a completely different thing. So they have to be looking forward, wondering when this trend of everybody sending in all these trading card games will start to slow down too. And that will be when they might have a little bit of an issue, because they need 1 million cards a month. I'm sure they probably need to hit certain numbers around there. And if that drops off too, and sports cards don't pick up, they're gonna be under. So maybe, like, I don't know when that'll happen, but I do think that the trading card games will drop off at some point, and that will maybe put them under 1 million, maybe by the end of the year.
We're at the beginning of 2024, so it's as of this release, it'll be 1/8/2024. Do you think there will be a month in the next 12 months? So when we're talking, if we're still all here, 1/8/20, I guess it wouldn't be exactly 1/8, but 1/8/2025. Will there have been a month where PSA has graded less than 1 million cards?
No.
I think there will be one where they're slightly under by the end of the year.
Okay, I
Maybe
agree with
November.
you. I don't think they are either, but
I mean, I'm not saying they will be, but I'll go out there and I'll say the potential does exist but it won't be till later in the year.
I kind of hope this $15 deal is the kind of deal where it's for a full month, and so they're going to get a lot of cards. So I'm interested to see how they come out on the other side of it as far as like turnaround times, that sort of stuff. But I also wonder, we've talked about this before, where sometimes they do these deals to see how many cards we're going to get. Is it sustainable? What kind of money do we get? And then maybe they consider dropping it down to $15 at least by the end of the year, or something like that. That would be I'd love that. Like that'd be great. I'd probably sign up for a membership at that point.
They definitely should. Whether they will, probably
Right.
not. Yeah, but I do think $12. Like, you need to get down to that point that the person making the decision goes, well, that's worth it. Like, that's not that much. Like, I feel like $10, $12, you'll have somebody who knows they have to get a 10 on something to increase the value. That will make them go, well, it's only $10. It's only $12. It's worth the risk. Whereas when you're up in the 15 to 20 range, people are maybe shying away from it a little more.
By the way, the worst abusers of the environment, grading companies. All this plastic.
Let's not forget DVD cases and video game cases, because there are a lot of those out there too.
Wait, did you see that picture of Walmart? This is not related, but picture of Walmart, the video game shelf had like 3 hard copies of video games.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is digital now. Like,
Yeah.
This is the medium that's not. So like, there is a lot of plastic. Like, joking aside, there is a lot of plastic in these cases. And we didn't even talk about this. How many of those numbers are from people cracking and resubmitting?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Chris Sewell went through 3 cases for 1 card. I mean, that
they should let us recycle them at least, right? Make them recyclable. Yeah. Oh, so CGC is not grading a lot of sports cards, but they do grade a lot of comic books. Unfortunately, we don't talk a whole lot about comic books here, and this really isn't about comics per se, but grading in general. CGC had a huge scam recently where there were over 350 different high-end books that people like cut the seal out on their slab and put in a book that was a lower grade than what the grade on the slab was. Apparently, it was over $1 million total worth of scamming that happened there. Crazy that is happening, but like, it could have, like, I'm not gonna say it could, I'm sure it does happen with cards. Like, we can't just look at the comics and go, oh boy, they have a problem, because it's pretty much the same slab that we use for cards. And if people are cracking, like finding a way to reseal those with worse books in it, there are people out there, if they aren't already, they're going to be looking for cards they can do that. Like, how is it that like they don't have some kind of seal on, like, you have products you buy that, if this seal's broken, you can't return it, and like for stuff that costs $10, like, why do we not have something on the slabs that clearly show that it was tampered with if it was opened up?
So the comics people have already figured out how to recycle cases. Look at that. They're already ahead of everybody else. They made it. They figured it out.
Yes, yeah. That's a good way to look at it, EP.
Always the positive guy.
Always the glass half full.
Yeah,
yes.
it's 100% happening with cards, right? There's no doubt about it. Like, again, we talk over and over again about how scammers going to scam, especially when there's money involved. Like, you have to deal with it. And there's no doubt in my mind. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the comics cases compared to the card cases and card cases from everything I haven't like really studied all that sort of stuff. I don't know how different they are, but like if there's a way to do it in the comic cases, there's a way to do it in sports card cases, and I guarantee you people will figure out how to do it. You know,
Joe, pull one down there and let's rip it up.
I will say they are worse because the comic ones, because I've seen people who are just doing basically what card people do and crack and resubmit, but there's a way to pull them open, like that's much easier. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube content from comic book people, like our version of comic, you know, the comic book version of us, and not quite as cool, but you know, they were saying things like there needs to be like, I don't know, like a piece of tape or something. Like there needs to be something in the case. Like you ever see those movies where someone's worried they're going to walk in their apartment and get murdered, so they have a little piece of tape or a little piece of string that they can see if it's broken, kind of thing. They need something like that for comic books. I will say the one benefit we have as card collectors, and people roll their eyes at this all the time, but I truly believe this: eBay authentication. Comics don't have eBay authentication. It's crazy to me. Like, and the authenticator would be CGC. So if they were able to pick up on these comic, once they were sent in, you know, they were able to pick up on which ones were tampered with and go through that process. But like, I can't imagine spending thousands of dollars on a comic book and it not being authenticated through the eBay process. Like eBay authenticates shoes, they authenticate what jewelry, they authenticate sports cards. I can't wrap my head around why they wouldn't authenticate comic books.
Yeah.
Because there's more that you can do with comic books to screw someone over. Like if a page is missing, even if a sales brochure is missing out of it, that's a big deal, and it'll get flagged with a different colored label. So how they don't have that eBay authentication. So what I'm saying is in cards, at least we kind of have that. Again, people roll their eyes, but I think it is a really, really good service that is free. It just takes us, an extra few days to get our cards. I'm cool with that. I would much rather have that happen.
All right. Well, EP, you love cards,
Yes.
right? You like old cards?
I do.
You like
I like all
pre-war
kinds of cards. Old cards.
Did you hear the story? Of course you did. You brought it to us. But yeah, there was another cache of 1920s baseball cards found. They're going to be going to the Auction Monthly website to be on auction, but the story behind it was like amazing. Like there's over 20 Babe Ruth cards. There's Shoeless Joe Jackson, Ty Cobb. Not in the greatest of shape, but like the guy who has them, apparently his dad collected these back in the 20s, and they used to go to games together and stuff. His dad tried to get him into card collecting in the 50s, and he wasn't really into it. Then his dad passed away in 1994, and the son made sure he went through the house and wondered if those cards were still there. And I guess he's had them ever since then, and now decided it's time to get rid of some stuff. Like another huge collection of pre-war cards, like just fantastic, like in a tobacco tin. They were all some of them are missing some of the card. They're lower grade, but I mean still cool. We celebrate this stuff when we find it. How awesome is that?
Oh, I mean, I've said before that I love anytime you're talking about a vintage card like that, I want it to have some wear and tear. I want it to have a story to tell like that. I love those kinds of cards. Give me a PSA one like that any day of the week. And so, and again, cards have a story behind them. Like
SGC one.
SGC one. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. But I mean, like it's so cool. I love these kinds of stories, and like the dream of a lot of collectors is to eventually find one of these yourself and have these cards. But can you imagine? Like obviously he's already seen these cards. Can you imagine if it's somebody like you or me, Mike, who would just this guy plopped this down in front of us? Well, I mean, Joe, it's baseball. Well,
Oh, okay.
and
Pass. I'm good.
Yeah, turn the lights out, take a nap. We're talking about baseball.
Right.
but no, anytime somebody drops that down, that's just a pile of history in a tin, tobacco tin,
Mhm.
and just to like leaf through those cards and stuff very carefully, obviously. But man, like that would be so much fun. Like, that made me so happy when I saw that posting.
I'd love if someone dropped a pile of those in front of me too. Probably for the same reason Mike would. We would make a little bit of money on those. EP, you'd be like rolling all over them. Mike and I would be like, okay, how do I send these to SGC as quickly as possible? Get them authenticated, get them up on eBay or an auction house. My question is, you said his dad passed away in 1994, and he's had these cards for a while. The boom happened starting in 2019. I mean, I'm kind of shocked that he's just locating them now, right? Like, and boom made major news. Like, people are like, "Oh my god, cards are going crazy!" Like this is a thing that's happening. I'm surprised when that boom was happening, he didn't
Well,
go
he's
searching
an
for 'em
older
beforehand.
gentleman, so
Yeah.
he may not
Yeah,
have known.
there's still a lot
Plus-
of people who don't
He doesn't
realize
have
that
greedy
that-
grandkids who are like,
Plus-
"Hey, Grandpa, do you have any old cards sitting
he
around?"
maybe didn't want to get rid of them. Like he had a lot of stuff, but in the article it said that he got to the point, he's at the point in his life where he feels like he needs to get rid of some of the stuff he has laying around and decided to do that. I mean, he could have sold them for a lot of money probably at any point.
Yeah.
So they probably have a lot of sentimental value
Right.
to them that, even more than what the physical value was. But they said it could be, close to $1 million because of the grade lower. They said if it was in better condition, it would have been millions of dollars worth of cards.
Crazy.
How much do you think they would have been worth 2 years ago?
I
Like,
don't know. I don't know that the pre-war stuff. I don't think it would
you
make
think it's kind of
that big of a
stayed flat?
difference. Yeah, but I mean, if I had these before I send them to SGC, I would be contacting Peter and I'd be like, okay, but if I send them to you, you need to come on the podcast and we need to do an interview with you about them. And that's
And
the
a
only way I'm
reveal.
going to send them to you. Yeah.
And
So-
and a live reveal with Peter.
Oh, that'd be great. How about
Yeah.
I fly down? Oh, I don't fly. I'll have to drive down. Drive down to the headquarters and you can grade them all there. We'll do it
Drive
on
down
video.
to Florida. That sounds delightful.
Sounds awful. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'll just
Send me
not
down.
grade 'em.
I'll be the reporter on the
Okay,
street. I'll
there we
fly
go.
down. I'll fly down. EP. So if you found this box, I know what Mike and I would end up doing with them. EP. If
Right.
you found this box of cards, and it was maybe your grandfather, great grandfather, whatever, you just happened upon them, what would you do? Like, you'd leaf through them. We know that you drool all over them. We get that. But what would you do with them?
I mean, I'm definitely keeping a few of them, but I'd probably grade every single one of them and sell most of them. Like my collection is. I've said this a bazillion times. Like, if I have a card that's over $100, I'm like, what's this doing in my boxes? Like, what's this doing here? This is not my kind of thing. So, like, I wouldn't want to keep all of them, but because of the sentimental value, I definitely want to keep one or two of them. Even if somebody, like a long lost uncle who I never knew, dropped these cards in front of me, I still want to keep one or two of them just because of the memory of this moment in the hobby. But I mean, there's way too much money in that box to sit around in my house, in my apartment.
But they
it's
would
just too
be
much.
for like months. Me and Mike would be like, "Did you send those off yet? Did you send those off yet?" Like every
I'm working on
week.
it. I'm working on it.
I got my job. I got my job to do,
Yeah, I'm
guys.
too busy. I
I'm
got
too
called
busy
into
at the
work again.
paper.
Yeah. The gentleman he is keeping some of the cards too
That's
that
cool.
he
Yeah.
said so
Yeah.
attached to. That's pretty cool. Well, I just wanted to check with you guys before we wrap things up. It is the last week of the auction for the Tom Brady Bowman Draft SuperFractor. I know you guys are both interested in bidding on it. I'm just, I'm not in this one. I'm gonna sit back and see what happens with the two of you. But currently it is only at $115,000 with the buyer's premium. So less than a week to go. What are your plans, guys? Are you all in? Are you gonna win it? Nobody is beating you out.
I tried to put in a bid $25 over what it was currently at, but it wouldn't accept my credit card. It's the weird, craziest thing. I don't understand.
I've got my money tied up in Izzy Abanikanda cards, so I don't know if I can. What do we think it goes for? Like, what's the prediction? Is it 150 now? How much is it? $250,000 card?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, let's throw numbers out there. What do you think?
I'm going to go last. EP, what do you think?
I'm going to say 250, 250K. That sounds like the number. Yeah.
250.
250K. That sounds like the number. Yeah. 250K. 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 That sounds like the number. Yeah. 250K. 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 250K.
I'm gonna go. I was gonna say 250 as well. I'm gonna go 300K.
I think I'll go 275. I'm going to take the over.
$1.
$1. You know,
301.
I think it goes for over 300,000 with the buyer's premium. I don't know how much more. I think it's a ridiculous card to spend $300,000 on, considering he has autographed actual rookie cards that you can get for way less than that. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous, but I guess it's this, we use this expression a lot. It's a moment in time in the hobby, right? So someone wants to have that moment in time that they can say, hey, look what I got that you didn't. So who knows? Maybe a couple of rich people, maybe Tom Brady gets into it. Maybe Ruben gets into it.
I wonder, I think the real question is 2 months from now, when this person that buys it tries to resell it, sell it again, what does it go for then? That's the real question.
Yeah.
What's the next sale for? You know?
It's the next guy. Yeah, always less.
Who's holding the bag?
Always less.
Who's holding the bag with this card?
Is there anything wrong with Michael Rubin bidding on the card that his company made? Like, could he do that? Is he allowed to do that? Or is that shill bidding?
That's a good question. I don't think
know.
It's shill bidding, but I do think it's like he's trying to bump up the perceived value of Topps cards in doing it. So it's like that is a gray area. I bet you there's definitely no legal thing, but I bet there is a moral gray area, as Chris Sewell would say, on this one in the hobby. I think Tom Brady bidding on it though, maybe.
No, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Giselle bidding on it to burn it. Who knows?
That would be fantastic. If she does, I will send a public invitation out to her to come on the podcast and do it here. Yeah. We'll just do it together. We will give you a forum down in that lower right-hand corner. All right, guys. Well, that was a fun chat this week, and I will see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
Adios.